folks. Those of you who aren't done seeing my face today, it's a whole new show. Welcome to Reels and Heels. Brian and Nicole are out moving right now, so I get to control the starship. Hopefully not steer it in the wrong direction this time. But thankfully I have Rose to join me on the show, so she can kind of keep me on the rails. And we have Carl Woodsman from the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. And he does a show called Carl and Ted, Ted and Carl's Cigar Show.
Very cool.
Yeah, we talk about, quality cigars and enjoying them.
Which is a very fascinating show.
Well, thank you.
I'm not, I quit smoking cigarettes several years ago, but one of my friends smokes cigars, and every now and then I may have like a puff and just to see what it is. And it's not bad, but I don't want to start up smoking.
No, don't start up again.
One of my bosses, he had a cigar shop. He just sold it last year, but I did one of my book signings at his cigar shop. It was really nice. He invited me to come there, so it was really fun.
Very cool.
And do you do pipe smoking as well, or?
Oh yeah. That's how I got started. But I did a lot of travel, and don't try to load your pipe and light it while you're driving. It's not a good. I've seen people nearly get killed doing it, and I'm like, I think I'll try a cigar while I'm out on the road, and it's just so much easier. But yeah, behind me I've got all those cigar boxes, but I've got some pipes here, and I've got my Sherlock Holmes pipe.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, so in my little fake clock there.
What do you like? What kind of tobacco for your pipes?
Usually something like a Captain Black, vanilla or cherry flavor. I mean, something that when people smell it, they go, "Ooh, that smells good."
The reason why I asked is when I was growing up, my dad's boss, he smoked Sugar Barrel. And it was just like the nicest smell when you go into their house. I just really loved the smell of that Sugar Barrel tobacco.
Yeah, and I've had, back when we could smoke indoors in our state, I took my pipe to a meeting one time, and this woman sat down. She says, "I'm going to sit down next to you so I can smell your pipe." I'm like, okay. And she goes off to the bathroom. Another woman comes, moves the other gal's stuff over. Because I'm sitting here. I'm like, okay, don't fight. Don't fight over my pipe.
Rose, you do a show called, you have two shows for Hanging with Webb. One is the Saturday morning cartoon show, which is on the same time as Back of the Cereal Box, so I apologize for going head to head with you this morning.
We weren't even on this morning. We're off this week.
Okay.
We'll be back next week. Mark is taking a well-needed vacation this week, so we'll be back next week.
Go on vacation?
With our other show that we do bi-weekly. Our classic television Smackdown is next Friday. And then Saturday morning cartoons will be next Saturday. So
all right. So you guys do a lot of great research for those shows.
We spend a lot of time putting a show together. It takes a few hours usually to put one together, sometimes a couple of days. So
now here's a question: does Jerome do most of his researching, and then he just
does his own?
off?
We all do our own research. So, but Jerome is like he's the fact checking guru. And he's so knowledgeable to begin with, and then he just loves to fact check everything. And I mean, it's really handy having him, around for that, because he can pop up something really fast. He's like the encyclopedia Jerome, But yeah, we do our own. We do. If it's my turn to do a show, I do my own prep, and Mark does his own prep. So that's how that works.
Okay. Terry's in the chat going, "You'll have a packed schedule." Yeah. And I agreed to do another show. So
You're going to be 24/7 Willow Skylar.
You know what? I want to get out of working retail, so I gotta somehow figure out a way that I can make this
Willow,
a job.
you can break free. I did it. You can do it. Okay. Sometimes it takes time. I mean, I went to school. I was working full time and going to school at night for 2 years to get my paralegal degree, and then I got out of retail. I was in retail 7 years. I don't miss it. I don't miss it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the day where I'm like, I'm out of here.
But it's nice to have a Monday through Friday schedule instead of like, oh, I've got to work the night shift and then I have to be back. I have to get up at 6 a.m. to be back at 7. You know, it gets old. It gets old. Mm-hmm. I've been there.
Yep. Or the odd time where it's like at other jobs, we're not allowed to do double shifts at Starbucks.
Oh, really?
So it's kind of against the rules. But I know I'm sure they would in a heartbeat ask for us, but they don't want to pay the overtime.
There you go.
You know what would happen is if they would always underschedule you. So if somebody calls out, then you have to cover them, and then you'd still end up with maybe 38 hours.
Yeah,
that's retail.
Yeah.
I went the opposite direction. I started in an office job and escaped the boredom of that. Oh, interesting.
Wow.
See, and then here's me. I kind of want to go into the office.
Yeah.
It just depends what you want to do. Is there something you want to do? Are you looking at medical or something specific?
Well, I have like all these ideas in my head, and I thought it would be fun to do kind of like hairdressing or something along the lines of
you're a people
something
person.
creative.
Something creative. You'd be great at that. Yeah, you have to have a personality, I think, to really do hair and be able to talk to people. You go in and you have somebody not talk to you. It's just like it's getting your hair done. Part of the experience is talking to the person who's doing your hair. It's kind of like your 20-minute psychologist for
And the thing is with me, like I love getting my hair done, and it doesn't matter. I'll just go in, and I know a lot of people are very picky when they get their hair done, and I mean it's hair; it'll grow back.
It is hair. Or no hair.
I got tired of it. Get rid of it.
But
but you're using your broadcasting degree now, so
I wanted broadcasting was something that has always been on my mind, even when I was a kid. Like, yeah, it's like I want to be an entertainer, but it's like what is it about entertaining that I want to do? And then of course got into watching The Tonight Show. And watching all the other talk shows, and it's like I really like this kind of format where I would love to get to know people. And
there you go. Here you are.
I tried my hand at stand-up comedy, and it wasn't my thing.
Yeah, I understand that.
Because it was something that I had to memorize.
Right.
Yeah, it pays to know some jokes before you go up there.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Ryan. I'm going to try and behave today.
We will try very hard not to have a 3-hour show, but you never know. So the reason why we're here is, we're talking about our hobbies and what our interests are. I have a whole bunch of them. I'm sure Carl has many, and so does Rose. But let's get to know Carl. What kind of hobbies do you have?
Okay. Well, one of my early hobbies was getting into shortwave radio. So talk about geeky hobbies, okay? And I have a little portable shortwave radio, and I would run an antenna out. And I used to work at Radio Shack. I'm really geeky. And so that's kind of how I got into that. And I love listening around the world to different stations, oh, well, you're welcome. I like to listen to, like world stations, like the Voice of Ecuador or something, and that was that catching some distant station, halfway across the world, or listening to ham radio operators. Some people get really far into it. They will even download things from satellites.
Oh.
And you can print out your own weather charts from that, So, they'll show these photos of the eye of a hurricane. I don't do that exactly. But, I do have the portable one. But I also have what's called an SDR. And that's a software-defined radio. And on those, this is the radio here. That little black box, that's the radio now.
Oh, okay.
I've stuck it in a cigar box, and it's sitting beside. You can see my portable radio there. But I put it on the floor and opened the box up to show. That box does more than the actual shortwave radio sitting beside it, because it will get everything from AM, FM, all the way up through shortwave, all the way up to satellite transmissions. And and what it does is it uses the computer's power to pull up. See, this is what your screen would look like with this particular box, and you can listen to a particular frequency, like 137.912 megahertz here. And down below, you'll see the little squiggles there. Those are possible radio stations that you could listen to. So you can click on one of those, and it would take you to that radio station, and you can listen in all night if you want to.
He wears that badge very proudly, as many of us do.
So that was my first, real geeky hobby.
All right.
Yeah.
Rose, what was it that got you? Like, what was one of your
early hobbies? One of my earliest hobbies when I was a kid, I did stamp collecting for a while. Yeah, I did collect stamps. Unfortunately, my stamp collection went missing a long time ago.
Oh no!
Yeah, and I'm sure some of them were probably worth something today, because my dad and I would go and we'd go. This is back in the 70s, okay? So we'd go around and we'd find, where people had thrown out old letters and stuff, and we would just we would actually like sit there and like put the steam on and steam the stamps off, and put the use little tweezers and put them in the book. Mm-hmm. So I did that for a fairly long time, but like I said, the books went missing. So I kind of like lost doing that. My dad and I also used to do coin collecting a lot, and I still have his coins, even though he's passed away. I've got his coin collection. We've never sold any of them. Really cool story. He was doing some house demolition for somebody he was working for, and he was like reaching up in one of the rafters, and he found like it was really dark, and he felt this sack that had some weight to it, so he stuffed it in his pocket. When he came home, it was full of like Morgan silver dollars and and so I still have those. So that's really cool, So but we would go to different coin shows over the years, and we used to collect coins. So that's something I did really early on, and that was the starting of my collect. I've collected so much stuff. I'm a big collector, and I or a hoarder.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's funny you talk about stamp collecting, and I kind of led into the world of sticker collecting.
That was huge. A lot of my friends were really into that when I was going to school. They would collect those Garbage Pail Kids and the puffy ones, or the smell. It was a lot of kids were into that. I really wasn't into it, but I would admire their collections.
Yeah.
I remember like the troll dolls of the late 80s, early 90s thing, and they had sticker books and everything for that. For me, it was more so Barbie collecting. I loved playing with Barbies because it was a way of being able to imagine a whole different world and kind of an escape from whatever BS in my life at the time. But I did the Barbie thing. And now it's like any time that Barbie's in some like, Star Trek uniform or superhero costume, I'm just like, I gotta get it.
Yeah.
How many Barbies do you have?
I'm sorry?
How many Barbies do you have?
Actually not as much as I did during my childhood, because I actually gave away a lot of my Barbies to a family that wanted them. So, but right now I think I have about 10 of like the collectible stuff.
That's cool. That's cool. And my sister-in-law used to collect a bunch of the Barbies. She had the X-Files Barbies and the Star Trek when they came out with that Star Trek set about 20 years ago. Yeah. And I think she still might have them, but some of them really go up in value after a while.
I remember Pogs.
I do too.
Yeah, it can be quite expensive sometimes to get into some of these hobbies.
It's insane. The train hobby is. You're spending like $300 on a little train about that big.
Yeah. I forgot about the shortwave. When I bought that portable unit, that was like $400, and that was a lot of expense for me at the time. And then when I bought the little box I use now, it's about $100. So it's come down quite a bit. But you can actually go online. And if you go to Google and type in online SDR, there are people who have hooked theirs up and have hooked it up to the internet and then allow everybody else in the world to use their SDRs.
Wow.
So you can say, I want to listen to that shortwave station in Antarctica. So I'll find a station in South America that will allow me to pick that up. And so their antenna picks it up, broadcasts it through the internet to you, and you can choose on the dial where you want to listen. So it could be a free hobby. That's what I like about some of these. They've kind of worked them down to where you can get in free.
So did you do any broadcasting outside of what you're doing now, Carl?
Not much, no. I mean, I've done a few little things here and there, and I've been interviewed for my books on television, in local television. But nothing really big like that.
And what got you into being an author? I mean, I could ask that for both of you because you both write. So it's Carl, what got you into becoming an author?
Oh, wow. There was a little newsletter at our grade school, and they would post things in there. And they said, we need writers, to give us stories. And I thought, okay, well, I've got an idea, but I don't want my name attached to it in case it fails miserably. So I wrote it under a pseudonym, and it was a piece by piece story. So it would get, a little bit here, a little bit there throughout the school year. And everybody was guessing who wrote that. And they were guessing different teachers had written it. And here I was in 7th or 8th grade writing these things. And
that's really good.
Yeah, I was like, oh, well, maybe I'm halfway decent at this. So at the very last part of the school year, I put my name in there. And people were like, oh, he's not bad. So that got me going, that bit of ego boost, I guess.
Yeah. And Rose, what was it that got you into writing?
My 5th grade teacher, Wendy Waterman, she really liked to cultivate creative writing with our class. And I had written some stuff outside of school, and I had showed it to a friend of mine, and he gave it to her to read. And I was like horrified because it was a Christian school. And I was like, oh my gosh, because I thought it was like really kind of, I used some swear words in it and what have you. But she really loved my work. She called me up and talked to me about it. And then at the end of the school year, she had given me a book saying, a blank book saying, I know you're going to be a famous novelist someday, you know. And that kept me going. I mean, and I had some great teachers along the line. My 8th grade teacher, Amanda Lucas, and in high school, the yearbook teacher, Karen Herzog. I was in yearbook for 3 years. So, and I did a lot of the writing for that. So, you know, I had some great teachers that really inspired me to write. And for years and years, I didn't write anything because I was working and going to school. And I wrote my novel about 4 years ago. It took about 3 years to write, and it was released in 2018. Due to my work, I haven't been able to write anything else lately, but I do have a blog site, www.warpedinfluences.com, that has some short stories. And when I used to go to conventions, like, I had articles about that, and I've interviewed a couple of writers too who are friends of mine. So there's content on there, and I just, you know, it's something I really enjoy doing when I have the time to do it.
Yeah. So fanfic, that is a huge hobby. Yeah.
I wrote fanfic. I used to write for I wrote some articles for what was called the Warrior Princess Press, which was before the internet. We were writing, like, it was a fanzine. So I wrote for Xena Warrior Princess. I wrote some articles for that particular publication. And then when Lost was out, I wrote a lot of fan fiction for Lost, and it was on a Dark UFO website. They would publish there, and that was so much fun. I enjoyed writing that Lost fanfic so much. I've also written fanfic for Star Trek, but I never put any of that on the internet, but I still have some of it.
Cool.
How about you, Carl?
I have,
Yeah?
but my fanfic is going to show my age, okay? Because I loved Hammer horror films, okay, and Sherlock Holmes and Charlie Chan, the old black and white movies.
I love Sherlock Holmes films.
Yes. So I would write things like Sherlock Holmes meets Frankenstein, or, you know, Charlie Chan tracks Dracula or something like that, and write those mashups before that was a thing.
Before the mashup ever became a word.
I invented that crap, you know.
My thing was X-Men, because I was big into the X-Men around that time. And well, when Castle came out, I'm like, oh, I can totally write an episode of Castle.
That's cool. I love Castle.
I have a short story, a kind of a steampunk thing that I have on the back burner that I'll let you guys read it. I'll send it to you guys. And but it's called Blasphemy. And what else do you call a ship that's run on human excrement? Filtered.
Okay. There you go. Yeah.
You know, we have a local steampunk convention here in town. And they're always, you know, looking for writers and stuff. Maybe sometime you can come down our way if you ever get your stuff published below.
I'll let you guys read it. I definitely need to go back and refine it a little bit and work a little bit on the details of the ship. But
that's cool.
So writing could be considered a hobby, you know?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Which is funny because when I was in my foster home and writing became like my thing to zone out with, I remember my foster brother kept standing behind me reading my stuff. I'm just like, would you stop? It's not done yet.
Have you ever tried the NaNoWriMo? It's not really a contest.
I failed it miserably.
Yeah, it's like National November, National Novel Writing. But anyway, in November they usually have it in November, and you're supposed to write a novel during that month. And so I thought, I'm not going to write anything serious, but I'm going to try and write something during that month. I ended up with a novella out of it.
Oh, that's cool.
So I don't know if I have it here or not. I do. Okay, here it is. The Mad Gasser Cheerleader of Calhoun County. That came out of NaNoWriMo.
That's so cool. What a great
thank
title.
You. Well, thank you. The whole idea was there really was a guy who gassed people in their homes in Mattoon, Illinois, back in the 1940s. Ooh. And I thought, well, nobody really knew that guy's motives. What if I gave him motives? So this is kind of like a hobby from playing around with me. I had no idea I would ever sell it. I was just like, I'm going to play with it. And I got really dark with that. Now, I usually write humor, some science fiction, things like that. And I like to write a lot of how-to books, how to use this or how to use that. And this was really dark for me. And I was like, oh, boy. I don't know if anybody wants to read that, but people have been loving it. So I'm like, okay, maybe I've got a career.
Oh, hey, it works for you. And the Mad Gasser 2 is coming out, isn't it?
Yes, people who have read it have demanded a sequel because in the end, I was going to have the bad guy meet his comeuppance, but I didn't. For some reason, something told me, just leave it open. Just don't close the loop. And they said, oh, my God, you've got to write another one. And in this, the bad guy has to get his comeuppance. You've got to do something to this guy. And I'm like, okay, I have an idea. So it's in progress right now.
That's great.
Awesome.
So sometimes a hobby becomes a job.
That's kind of what I'm hoping for eventually.
And you've actually designed other other writers' books too.
Yes, a hobby I have. Another hobby is playing with Photoshop, or not Photoshop. It's Paint Shop Pro, and I will. I did one cover for a lady because I said, look, here's an idea you could use for your cover. If you did this and this, and she's like, oh, keep working on that. So I ended up, and she paid me in a copy of her book when it was done. But yeah, I designed her cover, and now I've done 2 of her covers, and I've done almost all of Donna's. My wife writes as well, Donna Carlene. I've done about 8 or 9 of her covers.
That's awesome.
So I'm getting pretty good at that. So now that I'm retired,
I can't understand Photoshop. I tried. I just.
The interesting thing for me is working in layers. You can have the photo or the drawing be one layer, and then the title is another layer, and the author's name is another layer, and you can decide which one goes in front, which one goes in back. You can erase a portion of one without touching the other. So for one of the books, we had to have a couple, and they had to be in the woods, and they had to have a castle in the background and some trees. And all those elements were separate elements that I pulled together from different photos and put together to make one image. And then on top of that, you have to put your titles and all that good stuff. So it was a little bit of work, but
complex. Yep.
But it's fun.
And what other hobbies have you guys had over the years?
Rose?
Sorry.
My husband and I, we collected non-sports trading cards, like television and movie trading cards for a very long time. Mm-hmm. We were into it for probably about 15 years. A lot has changed in the card world since then. It's not as fun as it used to be, but we used to love, it was the surprise of seeing what you're going to get as far as an autograph or what costume card. And we ended up pulling some pretty cool stuff. One of them being the actor who plays Sheldon on Big Bang Theory. We had gotten his card. I ended up selling it because I needed the money, but that was one. It was a cool pull to get. And here's a fun one. Okay, what's her name? Meghan Markle. Mm-hmm. Meghan Markle was on a show called Fringe, okay? She was on the first season, a couple episodes, okay? Back then, nobody knew who the hell Meghan Markle was. In fact, when I got the card, I was disappointed. And I just threw it somewhere with my common cards, forgot all about it. Then I'm like, last year I'm reading that card because she married Prince Harry had gone up in value significantly, and I'm like, where's the card? And I spent like a couple of weeks tearing my house apart.
Oh no!
Couldn't find it. And then one day I'm just like sitting, I'm like looking through my Big Bang Theory stuff, and I had somehow it had gotten slipped in between there, and I took and I took it, and I was just like, what do I have it graded or do I sell it? And I went ahead and sold it because grading is expensive, and then you might not get your money back. So, you know, I was just like, right now there's that story going on, so I'm just going to throw it on eBay and, get myself, a couple $100,
Yeah,
But yeah, so it was just like, we never threw out anything because we're like, you never know when somebody's going to become famous, like her, for example. You know, that's an example of a card that was worth like $5 that became worth 500. So, so we did that for a very long time. But like I said, things in the card world have kind of changed, and the shows the properties that we like, they don't really make cards for anymore. We were really big into science fiction, but how many Star Trek cards can you get after a while? We just got tired of it.
Yeah,
and it became more expensive, and with getting less and less. Yeah. And I bought some of the Star Wars cards, and it came out so empty-handed. I'm just like, it's just not what it used to be. But it was fun while it lasted. We had a really fun time doing that too. And that was something we did together. It was, we sat on the bed, we opened up the packs, he would pull them, and then he'd hide the stuff, and he wouldn't look at it. He'd just grab it and look, and then he'd surprise everybody at the end, and sometimes the kids got involved. So it was like kind of like a family hobby. So, we don't do that anymore. Not if something comes out that we might like, we'll grab one just to see, But we used to be really hardcore for a while.
Actually, it's funny that you bring up the card thing. That's kind of how me and Joe started dating.
Oh,
really? We were friends in high school, and he showed up at my door one day on my birthday. He saw, I heard it was your birthday, and I hear that you like comics, and so here, and okay, I lived like 45 minutes away from the town of Steinbach that we went to school in. So he drove. He was driving his dad's station wagon, and he drove to my little humble abode out in the middle of nowhere, and he dropped off a binder of comic cards that he had collected.
Wow,
and that's cool.
And I'm just like, seriously? You came all the way here just to drop off comic cards instead of waiting to see me at school tomorrow?
You got married to that guy.
Well, I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was 20. Oh my God, 20 years ago.
My husband, he used to be huge into collecting comics. In fact, the Hulk is his favorite. We still have a lot of the Hulk comics. But Marvel trading cards is one of the things he liked. He'd like to grab a box of those every now and then, and you'd get sketch cards out of that. It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember like the movie cards from. I remember coming across some of my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Ryan, you're gonna love me and hate me at the same time. I don't remember what happened to those cards.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like some of those things get lost over time.
Moving sucks for collectibles. And,
yeah.
I remember having a whole bunch of. I actually, my aunt had 2 dolls that she gave me, and they were from like the 40s. Sorry, not the 40s, like the 70s. And so I tried keeping both of them. But when I moved to my last foster home, my foster mom was trying to sell the dolls. I don't remember what happened to one of them, unfortunately, but I managed to save the other one. I still have it. And so I messaged, I talked to my mom, and I showed her the doll. I'm like, should I give this back to Auntie Carol? And she goes, I'll message her and let her know that you have it. So yeah, dolls are expensive now, but something from like the 60s and 70s would be well worth a lot of money.
Yeah, if it's well kept and taken care of, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
And
I
some
have
of
a friend
those
who collects
fancy ones,
Cabbage
you know.
Patch
Yeah.
dolls, you know.
Oh, cabbage patch, yeah.
hmm
Cabbage Patch
Well-
dolls. Oh my god, I remember beating the heck out of mine as a kid.
Mine all ended up in very rough shape, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, some people collect those. Are the American Beauty? Is that the name of them?
American Girl. American
Yeah,
Girl. Yeah.
yeah. And they keep them in the box, pristine, you know, because they buy them mainly as an investment. Yeah.
I bought my daughter one. I think it's pretty much wrecked now.
So yeah, when it comes to Cabbage Patch dolls, don't leave it by the heater vent because the face can get squished.
Yeah, don't leave it with your friend who's a guy because the next thing you know, they have devil horns on their heads.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Oh, no.
One of the dolls that I remember having as a kid, and me being a doll lover, remember those Teddy Ruxpin dolls that came out? Well, there was one that was similar to the Teddy Ruxpin, where you can put a tape inside it and it'll mouth the words of whatever tape is inside it. I remember putting like AC/DC.
I can just see you doing that. Yeah.
How would Teddy Ruxpin sing "Highway to Hell"? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, no, doing stuff like that as a kid was hilarious, and then now it's like, oh my god, I wonder what happened to that doll.
It's possessed. It's got a life of its own. You know, living under a bridge somewhere.
And then you see, like on eBay, you try to get back your childhood, and it's like $200 for a Barbie doll. Never mind.
Yeah.
I had a couple of gem dolls, and now it's like, and I had the gem, like the Rolls Royce car that had
cool.
It had the radio back. I gave that up with the rest of my doll collection, and I'm kicking myself because on eBay that car's like over $300.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I tried to do a similar thing, Willow, because I've got into audio when I first, was playing around with different things, and I had a cassette recorder, of course, but before that, my parents had bought me some Christmas, which really got my geek juices flowing. It was this weird-looking little tape recorder that had it was like a laptop, okay, but in it you put these little tapes. It looked like something you'd get off Star Trek. With Mr. Spock would have a handful of those little things. Well, you plug one of those in, and it was like an 8-track tape, and you could record on these things and then play it back.
Okay.
You cannot find those things anywhere now.
That sounds so cool, though.
Yeah, but it got me going, got me into audio, and then eventually into video, and then now this. So, but I was thinking, wow, if I could get one of those things, no, you can't. They were probably all torn up. As children, people probably all tore them all up, and couldn't buy one for money.
I know we don't think about how much things are going to be worth later on in life. Except the new generation, they're with their pop figures, they know exactly how much that's going to.
Well, then how they think it's going to be.
Well, the whole thing is, I collect pops. Okay, I collect the Funko Pops. I have more than necessary. Okay. I actually did a whole database of them with my son a couple of months ago. It took us several weeks to do weekends to get it together. You know what? The thing is that I think it's going to end up like the Beanie Baby situation. Do you all remember the Beanie Babies?
Yeah.
I was a huge collector of those too, and they, they're up in value, and then all of a sudden they're worth nothing,
You can't give them away. Yeah, you can't give them away.
And at one time, people were paying $600 for, like the Princess Diana one, and some of the first, the first run ones were outrageous. I remember my sister-in-law paying $300 for the Peace Bear, I think it was. So she and I were both really into it at the time, and I enjoy pop collecting. I do a lot of it, with my son, because it's something that he and I can do together that he enjoys. My daughter's not so much into it, but she likes the ones that I buy her for her genre stuff. So I just got her Junji Ito. I got her the Junji Ito collection because she loves Japanese horror and she loves Junji Ito. Cool. So I got her the whole set.
Well, it's funny because I don't have any connections with the pop figures as much as a lot of other people do, and I bought a couple from a convention, and I showed Brian what I had, and he goes, "Oh, I'll take the 2 Scarlet Witch ones." I'm like, "Okay, sure," and he's like, "How much do you want for them?" And so I looked up, what they were worth, and I'm just like, "Would you be willing to give me $200?" He goes, "Yeah." I'm like, wow. I just made $200 off my co-host.
you wanted to sell, he wanted to buy. Everybody's happy. That's the way to do it.
But yeah, it's just like, hey, if anybody wants the pop figures that I have besides the 2 Elvira ones that I have,
I am so planning on selling off a lot of what I've got. But yeah, a lot of them I'm keeping my anime stuff. But I have a lot of extra ones that I just picked up now.
Quit teasing me, Ryan.
I told you my Elvira pop story, though. So yeah, and I ended up having this. I got her to sign it, and then my refrigerator broke, and I sold it and paid for half of my refrigerator.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
that's insane because I like even growing up, like living with my grandma, she had all of my uncle's comic collection in her basement, and that's how I got into comics, was reading all their stuff. And this hurts my heart so much. Them after my grandfather died and us moving out of our foster home, my grandma got put into was moved to a smaller home, and the comic collection just disappeared. I don't know who bought it or what happened to it, and I'm just like,
right.
Yeah.
All them Wonder Womans, all them Captain Americas.
I used to collect magazines when I was a teenager. I used to collect Soap Opera Digest, and I collected TV guides.
Yeah.
And I had a whole slew of them, but we had a little thing called Hurricane Andrew down in South Florida, and I lost all my Archie comics. I lost my soap opera collection and my TV guides. And some of those TV guides are worth quite a bit of money now.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can. I think there's one. I didn't have that one, but like Lucille Ball, the first time she was on with her baby Ricky. I think that thing went for like thousands of dollars.
Oh yeah.
So you never know. Everybody's got a niche. And everybody there's something that somebody collects. There's a person I knew who collected owl statues. She had thousands of owls.
That was my mother.
Yeah. So it's like you go to her house and it's just like you have all these eyes looking at you everywhere.
I remember in one foster home they had like all these like little precious moment figurines, and it's like do not touch, and I'm just like what got me was going to one person's home family, and it's like everything was in like museum shape, and it's like protective cover plastic on furniture. I'm just like, are you not allowed to play here?
in a little square.
When I first started working at JCPenney, back then they had like this whole section that was those precious. They would sell these precious moments and Emmett Kelly, the clown figurines, and Hummels. and they were so expensive. I'm like, and people would just come in and like shell down $75 for, it's the same looking thing on a precious moment, but she's, holding a heart, for $75,
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, and that was my mom who collected the owls. She had, probably 1,000 owl items.
Yeah, anything owl. This neighbor I had, she had macrame owls,
Yeah. Oh, wow. One of the collectors, I think, like we took over the house from Joe's grandparents, and one of the things that we had here was like his grandma made the dresses for these little Barbies, and underneath was like toilet paper rolls.
Yes.
So,
yes, I remember people did that. Yeah.
So if you ever needed toilet paper in your house, there was always that one roll of toilet paper that you're like,
there's a doll.
Do I dare use
it?
Doll.
This is a Barbie emergency. Yeah.
It's like 40-year-old toilet paper.
Any port in a storm, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I was trying to get out of some of the collecting, things, because we did that with Star Trek and Star Wars.
I had so much stuff.
Oh yeah. And I thought, what can I do that'll get my pasty white skin outside? And so I got into geocaching.
Okay.
Which is a hobby where one geeky person hides a piece of Tupperware in the bushes somewhere, uploads the coordinates, the latitude and longitude of that thing onto the internet, and then other geeks download those things and go try to find where that person's hidden it. And it can be very expensive if you buy one of those handheld GPSs. You can get one for $100, or you can spend up to $800-900 for the fancy ones where you download it from your computer and it has all the points in it. Or some people just write it down on a piece of paper and try to find things, And I was out doing that kind of thing. There's a picture of me out by some rocks before I don't stick my hand in the rocks, because there could be spiders, snakes, who knows what down in there. Yeah. But yeah, there's probably an ammunition can that someone's filled with McDonald's toys underneath that thing, and a little logbook that you sign to prove you were there.
Okay.
And then you
That's
go
really
back.
kind of cool, though.
Yeah. Yeah, you go back home and you say, I found it. Haha, you didn't. And lord it over your nerdy friends, But that was one hobby I got into. Here was one that it was really weird. There was a geocache hidden inside. You see by the wing there's that open panel there by that jet.
Yeah.
And there was a geocache stuffed up in there amongst the bird nests and spider webs and everything else. And this is at a gas station. They just happened to have that jet sitting in their parking lot as a come on, and somebody else thought, I'll hide something there. Okay. And then, some people get into the more dangerous side where you have to cross these railroad tracks, and there's a halfway across this bridge, because this goes over a river. Halfway across that bridge, there's something hanging there, and this gal is going to go out and try to hang off the side of this and get that bag. And I'm like, good luck to you, because I would not do that kind
of. That picture is giving me Stand By Me vibe,
Yeah.
And I found myself sliding down an embankment underneath a bridge. I almost fell in a river. And I thought, this will be where they find my body. And they'll wonder, why the hell was he out here, And my wife would say, there's probably a geocache under that bridge.
Yeah.
And,
well, there's a lot of people who do go treasure hunting. These people have written books where they've hidden stuff, and people go out and search for them. And sometimes, you can get in really serious situations doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. You can get arrested, or as one or more than one person has found a body of someone while geocaching, and several people have written books about such a occurrence. So, yeah, I was like, as I get a little older, I'm not going to be doing that so much.
Yeah.
And that's kind of got me into the next one. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. How long have you been geocaching for again?
Wow. I probably started that in the 90s.
Okay.
Wow.
Back before it was real easy. Now you can use an app on your phone to geocache, and you can do it for free. You don't have to join anything.
Yeah.
You download the app and you go to geocaching.com and you can find all the. What I loved about it was this secret world underneath the world that the rest of the world, these normal people walk around. They don't know that they walked right by a secret geocache in that parking lot.
I've heard of people talking about it at conventions, and there's in my city, there's a group for everything.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure there are a bunch in Winnipeg. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Another hobby that I've gotten into is Munzie, which is like geocaching, except you're going to look for these little codes, okay? And these little QR codes are hidden everywhere in the world, even China and places that don't want them. They are there. And you take your smartphone and you scan the code, and to find them, you have to use a map.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So you can look on the street map. That's the one on the left there. Yeah. Or if you're thinking, oh my gosh, I can't find wherever it is, then you could go and you can look at the satellite view. And I've just shown where I live there. That's I've got Munzies right in front of my house. So actually, people come by every once in a while, and I'll see them out there with their phone looking around. And I'm thinking, oh, I know what he's doing.
See, this is what adults do when they're not Pokemon hunting.
Exactly. And I've run into Pokemon hunters before on the search, and it's fun because they'll say, "Are you looking for Pokemon?" Like, no, I'm looking for a Munzie. Some people go crazy on it. This town in Minnesota, they have created gardens inside the town, and they've made one that looks like a guy walking his dog. They make a Ghostbusters symbol out of the Munzies that people will put there, and they're different colors, so they make them into, yeah. And that's how I wrote the book. The other book that I wrote was Uncle Carl's Guide to Munzie, and that is available on Lulu.com. It's also available on Amazon, but they've raised the price to twice the price you can get on Lulu. You can get it at Barnes & Noble, and it's about twice the price that you can get it on Lulu. So I'm telling people, go to Lulu.com. But yeah, that's sold all over the world because the Munzies are all over the world. And I got one review, a guy that said, it's too bad this isn't in Dutch. I'm like,
it can be.
It could be if I wanted to pay a translator, to do it, I suppose. But yeah, it's mostly popular. The book is mostly popular in Britain and Australia and the U.S., of course, and England, but in Germany, I guess. Large English-speaking populations, that were there. Yeah. But I've had people buy it in other countries and translate it. So and I did send Willow a link to all the Munzies in Winnipeg.
Yes, and I'm eventually when I get enough energy, I will go out and look.
Here's your first code, Willow. So when you do that, look here, okay, and scan that with your phone, and that will actually give you my referral code.
Okay.
And so when you go on you create your ID and everything, okay? When you create your ID, I will get referral points for referring you.
Okay.
And it will jump you up like 3 levels in the game. See, that's what gets people. It's like you get to different levels and rewards at different levels, and then eventually you get badges. Okay, now I could not talk Donna into the game whatsoever. And then I said, I got a badge for capping that Munzie. And she's like, badges? Wait a minute. Badges? So now we're into collecting these virtual badges for doing these different achievements, you get. And so, yeah, that's what dragged her in. And now she's hooked too.
See, I'm open to all kinds of hobbies. So yeah, my husband's into the car hobby, and that can be pretty time consuming and expensive. That is our my father-in-law's 58 Fury. Nice. We drive a 66 Dodge Coronet.
That is cool.
Love that copper color. That's beautiful.
And we have several other vehicles. Like between him and his dad, they have like 20 cars between the two of them.
Jeez.
And so we're looking to kind of downsize and probably sell some of the parts that they have. But at the same time, it's like you don't want to because you're like they want to get rid of a 41 Dodge. And it's breaking my heart because they're like, oh, we're going to sell it in an auction. I'm like, I will buy it.
No, you need that money for more Elvira figures.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, like, it can be my Elvira vehicle.
I'd love to have an Ecto one, a real,
We have an RCMP Dodge. An old RCMP Dodge, and I'm like, I so want to turn it into the Bluesmobile.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that would be cool.
But yeah, no, it's and you know what? Even the train hobby. Like my husband got into the train hobby, and at first it's like, oh, I kind of rolled my eyes at it a little bit, but like it's intense. Like the amount they're expensive, but it's actually kind of fun. We actually him and his dad got into slot car racing several years ago too, and that was fun.
Yeah.
But you just got to be careful on the on the turns because you can literally launch a car.
Yeah, I used to do that at my cousin's house because he had the slot cars.
Okay.
Yeah, the cool thing about the trains is that you can create your own. You can make your own. You could even make your own town if you wanted to.
Oh yeah, like it's like the.
Now, is that one of yours?
No, this is from the train. The train show.
Okay. Well, tell hubby he needs to get to work there. Plenty of room for that, don't you?
Oh, actually, it's funny. I have a costuming room, and the reason why I put all my costumes in there is because there's a closet. Well, it kind of expelled out of the closet. So, but it's the bigger room that we have, and Joe wants to have the big room for his train set. Oh. So I have to try to move or downsize my costuming stuff so that I can move it into the smaller room. But I also want an office so that I'm not out in the middle of my living room.
Well, a nice background with a bunch of clothes hanging behind you would, that would be okay. That'd be, it shows your uniqueness,
Yeah. But I mean, like, I cannot be mad at my husband for getting into like these expensive hobbies because costuming is just as dang expensive.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And like, I'm trying very hard to do it on the, buy stuff here and there and just kind of put it.
Yeah.
For my steampunk stuff, it's like $10 for a bag of cog and wheels. It's just like, so I mean, I can either do, I can buy a whole bunch of those, or I can like go to go and buy some old watches and take them apart. Use that.
Now the watch collectors are going crazy now. Oh no!
Sorry, Ted.
Oh my God, that was a 1945 Seiko. Yeah.
One of my ex-boyfriends gave me the collection of the Heart in the Heart in the Ocean set Came with a
from
watch.
Titanic?
Yeah, from Titanic. Yeah. So I have the watch and I have the little I have the necklace. But the watch I was really hard on it, and like some of the diamonds are missing out of it. The watch band broke, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna fix this anytime soon. So I ended up taking it apart and turning it into a locket.
Hmm.
Cool.
And it has my mom's.
It's good to repurpose stuff, like that.
Yeah.
It has my mom's picture in it.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, if you can take something and repurpose it, and it still has value to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And if it's broken, it's not doing anything. I mean,
yeah, exactly. And those little watches make great lockets because the crystal actually kind of magnifies the picture.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Cool.
See, a lot of things you can do with all your hobbies.
have you all? I don't know if you all have this hobby in your area, but in a big thing down here in Florida is these people will paint rocks. They paint these little stones. Mm-hmm. They leave them lying around, and then when you find them, it'll say, go to this website, and you can upload, the photo that, hey, I found this today.
Yeah.
The thing is, you're supposed to go and hide it somewhere else, or but I kept the one my son found, but.
But yeah. A lot of people do that. Yeah.
I actually have a friend who does that with her son. Whenever they go for walks,
it's amazing how it brightens a person's day. I've seen stories where people are having a cancer treatment and they go out and they find one of these rocks out, on their way out, and how it just cheers them up. So and that's a fairly inexpensive hobby that brings a lot of joy to people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. A friend of mine, Rose, found one of those, and she took it home and she kept it, and she felt guilty about it. So she painted 2 new rocks and hid those, and now she's completely hooked in the hobby now. She's painting rocks all the time and trying to find places to hide them. So yeah.
Now, is that the replacement of the pet rock?
Yeah.
Well, with pet rocks, you didn't really share them around. They just had little beards and stuff.
Yeah, I think that was more of the book that they were selling with the pet rock.
Oh, okay.
Because it would tell you how the feeding and care of your pet rock and how to teach it tricks and things like that. Sit, good rock. Yeah.
Things that people have created that made the millions.
Exactly. Stick a rock in a box, write a cute book about it, sell it for $20. There you go. You got it.
Oh, man.
Back in the 70s and 80s when I was growing up, they used to have these people from Duncan Yo-Yo would come around and they'd show all these cool tricks. And you buy these yo-yos as a hobby. And I never learned anything. I mean, I was lucky to get it to come back up.
Yeah, I fell into that. I fell into
get really good with those. Some people get really good with those.
Yeah, I fell into that too. Bought the expensive yo-yo. I could do a few tricks in my youth, but if you gave it to me now, I'd be okay, well.
I can do some stuff. It's even like the hula hoop. I can do a little bit with it, but after a while, I'm just like, okay, I'm not getting anywhere with this.
I have a friend whose son, he used to do the Rubik's Cube, and they have all these competitions, and I didn't know that, where they go around and they see how fast they could do it. He would go and they mix one up, throw it in the pool, and he would go dive for it and see how long it would take for him to get it in the water. And he did that for years. He did all kinds of competitions.
Wow.
So there's just so many different hobbies out there. There's something for everyone, when it comes to hobbies.
Yeah, and you really should develop a hobby, because I'm retired now, but I know a lot of people who retire and then they don't know what to do with the rest of their day. They have nothing but their job, and if they're underfoot with their spouse, and they're getting in the way, and then they, what do you do with your day? And if you don't have something useful and productive and at least entertaining, you'll go back to work because you have nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true.
For me, it's like the escape of my reality for a few moments.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like even photography, like I'll take a walk in my neighborhood and I'm surprised at what I find half the time. I went for a walk with one of my friends down to the force the other day and found a sculpture that I never knew existed.
That's kind of what got me interested or kept me interested in geocaching and Munzie, was because people will put these where it means something to them, maybe.
Yeah.
And I found things. In fact, I found in Marseille, Illinois, which is a little bitty dot on the map. I had to go out of my way to find it, but it was a tribute to all the soldiers who had been killed in the Middle East. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And there was my nephew's or my cousin's name on the list because he was killed in Kandahar. And it was overwhelming at the time. But I would not have found that if somebody else had not found it first, put something there for me to find and drag me out. I'm like, oh my gosh, this exists out here in the middle of nowhere. Amazing, you know?
Yeah.
And it teaches you things about your own city you don't even know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Someone's not happy.
Someone's got an
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Sorry about that. That is my husband playing video games in the way in the other room there.
Well, someone has an unhappy hobby.
Video games can be just as stressful as a hobby, and trust me, like I got into playing a game similar to Call of Duty several years ago with my husband and his friends. And I even was playing like a game called Dead by Daylight, which I got really hooked on and with my sister. And like, I love survival horror games. And so, yeah, I don't play them very, very well. So that reaction is very much me.
that is him actually playing on the old Wii system.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, we a few months ago, my daughter was just like, I miss the Wii. And I'm like, I do too. And they're like $700 now if you online. But I had a friend was just like, I have one in storage I hardly ever used. You can have it. And we've been having so much fun with it. But he, like any video game, you can get kind of intense sometimes. I think he's playing baseball right now. So.
Okay.
That would stress me out too.
Yeah.
The MLB Power Pros 2008 is, I think, the game he's playing right now, and he loves that game, but at the same time, it can piss him off real bad.
Oh, sure. We came home one day. This was back in the early 90s, I believe. And there was a diskette sitting by our door. No idea where it came from. So I'm like, do I put it in the machine or not? I don't know. And finally, our friend Paul comes by and he says, did you find the disc I left for you? I'm like, okay, good. Now I know where it's from. I can, he says, it's a game. I'm like, okay. And it was on a little diskette, if you remember those back in the day. Wolfenstein.
Oh, yeah.
My God.
Okay.
Yes.
That started us off. And so, and there was one part in there where the guy yells, Guten Tag, just before he fries you. And one night, Donna is playing that with her headphones on, okay? And she's got her back to the door, okay? So she's just, going down the hallways, and she didn't hear me come up because she had headphones on. I just go, Guten Tag, and she jumped out. I nearly got beat to death that night. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Been there, done that.
She moved her desk, never faced away from the door again.
I tried that.
there.
I tried that VR stuff a while back, and Joe was like, "Oh, and it was the shark one where it was the shark demo where the shark would come up and eat your character." Mm-hmm. And so Joe's like, "Oh, I should have totally grabbed your leg." I'm like, "You know what? I probably would have peed my pants and would have done that."
For sure. I think it was one. I think it was one of the Dastardly Dingoes. It was talking about one of his games where they were playing VR, and he drops the grenade at his feet.
Oh no!
And he turns around and runs right into a wall because he had the VR game. He couldn't see, so he turned around and ran away and ran right into a wall. And I'm like, dude, that's the most hilarious story I've ever heard.
I'm sure that happens more often than we think it does.
Yeah, all the time. And you're at work the next day, and then people are like, "How did you injure your head?" Don't ask. Don't ask.
Yep. I mean, like, when the Wii first came out, I don't know how many times I've heard of people hitting their brothers and sisters in the head because they're tending to close.
Oh, it still happens. You have to say, hey, stay, you need to stay back. Keep your 6 feet distance because I might accidentally whack you in the head while I'm playing tennis,
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say backswing and wham.
Yep. Yeah. Well,
or golfing. Or how many people get injured just playing the game because that Wii can be quite energetic.
Yeah.
And I've heard of people saying they have tennis elbow, from playing Wii. And the bowling, I guess, is quite dangerous too if you're not careful.
Always make sure that you have the wrist strap on your.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
you don't want to smash with. You don't need to replace the TV at the. But yeah, no, like I love talking about our hobbies because there's like a huge array of different things. I mean, Lego, the way Lego has expanded over the years. My husband loves not just like we'll build like the Ecto 1, and we actually just recently bought. Well, he came home with both the new Ecto 1 and the Batwing, and these are huge sets.
Okay, yeah.
And so we spent all of last month, one day building it, and yeah, it was intense. And I love the books that they come with. They're like thick books, like old. I laugh because our yellow pages have now become this thin, and the books for
Lego
that you get from Lego are like just the size of.
Yeah.
Yeah, my husband loved working on Legos. Hey, that used to be a huge hobby of his, and it can be quite expensive. He did one that wasn't an actual Lego, but he put together this ship with similar things like Legos, and he spent so long putting it together, and it looked beautiful. I took photos of it, and I'm glad I took photos of it because when he went to move it, it broke in half.
Oh yeah,
he was going to take it and he was going to try to hide it on his desk at work, but in moving it broke apart, and he was just so disheartened, and he hasn't put anything together since. This was about maybe 6 months ago, but it was very, he like I said, it's something you can do, with your hands and just create and build. I've never been good at it. I'm not a spatial person, but he really is, and he just, it's something that he really loves doing. So when we get some more money, I'm sure he'll be asking for another set.
Yeah.
So, he put together the Challenger, the once, a space shuttle.
Oh,
Oh wow!
nice.
Okay.
I love to go to like conventions, like comic conventions. And he's not a big people person. Okay, he likes to get stuff from there, but he doesn't like to actually go and interact with people. So I'll buy him things. But usually it became like such a big thing that I would go and he would buy a Lego set, and he'd spend the weekend putting a set together. Then he put it in one of these big, giant bins, and we'd take it home with us.
Yeah.
You've probably seen Top Gear, especially
Yeah.
the British Top Gear.
Mhm.
James May from that show went on to do another series about toys, and on one of them, he and hundreds of other people built a house out of Lego, an entire
We remember seeing
full
that.
size house. Yeah, and I was just like,
I did not see that. Wow, that's cool.
it's on YouTube. It's just look up James May Lego house, and those people must not have had anything else to do over the week, because that took a while.
Wow.
Well,
And they were really careful about how the colors, were at first, and then later higher in the house, it's like, whatever you got.
Mythbusters did something where they did like the Lego giant ball again from Indiana Jones.
Yeah, because somebody had done a viral video of this big ball rolling down the hill, and they didn't know if it would actually roll. And of course it didn't. It tore itself apart. The forces on rolling a ball down the hill of that size,
But they bought out like the world's Lego collection. Like you couldn't find Lego on sale at all anywhere during that time. So Joe was actually, it was funny because I think he had just started getting his Lego castle stuff around that time. And he was getting tired of, he goes, I don't get this. Why is there no Lego on eBay? We found out.
Exactly. Somewhere in Denmark, I think they have the capital of Lego, so to speak, where they have all kinds of sculptures and things that people have built out of them.
Oh, that's insane.
Bucket list for you there.
Yes.
Put that on your.
Well, it's funny because we definitely want to go to Germany, and because Joe has family out there, and we're trying to figure out whether or not, like, from Germany going to the Czech Republic to see where his grandfather grew up. And it's like, well, if we go to Germany, I definitely want to check out bits of Russia and, check out where my family came from.
You'll have to check out the huge train display they have there too, because they have, I don't know if it's like a disused mall or something, but they have built the world's largest model train display with multiple tracks and multiple trains, and you can run some of them. And they've done the work like you were showing your little bridges there. They've got all the bridges. They've got the little towns, several towns along the way you can drive through, and it just takes up this entire, what used to be a store, I guess.
That's really cool.
I love learning history, and I think Joe would kind of get annoyed with me because I'd want to be, where the history is.
Sure. Well, some of these trips offer, his and her type things. You can go on different,
Yeah.
You can be in the same town and learn two different things,
Well, it's funny because Joe's very much a World War II buff. And like, if we go to Germany, I would make a stop in certain areas that were relevant to World War II. But but I can kind of see where he would be like a little hesitant on going. But
well, yeah, my brother went to Bad Tolz, where my father had been stationed after World War II. Because they were afraid that the Soviets would come rushing in there. And so, he was stationed over there for a while. And so my brother went over and visited the place. And actually, a few of the buildings were still there. Easy to set pictures back. And I'd like to go to see that, but I'd love to go, even at my fear of people and crowds, but Oktoberfest.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. That would be cool. But we are going on one of those Viking cruises down the Rhine. Basically, it is a cruise ship that just goes down the Rhine River, and over several days, I think we start in Amsterdam, and we travel down, and they stop at various places, and you can take a tour of a castle or something, or go get some beer, and they feed you, and your room is your hotel room is in the ship because it's a big cruise. And so we're going to get one with a little veranda so we can sit outside and watch the Rhine go by.
That's nice. Yeah. That sounds really good.
It's a once in a lifetime kind of thing we're going to try to do. But I'd like to go back someday and visit towns inside Germany,
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you feel? Okay, I know this is completely off topic, but kind of relevant to history. How do you feel about like them rebuilding the Titanic and using that as a cruise ship?
Are they going to do that?
They keep saying that they are, and I think they've actually been working on.
Are they? You mean a model Titanic, or they're pulling up the Titanic?
A full length.
A reproduction.
Yeah, reproduction. Okay. I was gonna say if they're pulling up parts of the Titanic, I would be like, no, please, that's the graveyard. That's
no. Like a reproduction of it, and they actually want to do like the whole.
That's okay if it's a reproduction. I'm sure a lot of people would want to go on it. Just make sure that you put more, the safety. Make sure there's enough boats on it. That's all.
Well, I've got to wonder, are there boats now, cruise ships that are larger than the Titanic? Would it
there
be?
Is, yeah.
So they'd be losing some, but they'd probably be gaining because you could probably charge more if they named it Titanic.
Yeah, they make it like an experience,
Yeah.
Have either of you ever been to one of those Titanic experiences where you actually get to go in and like touch the stuff and see some of the stuff from the Titanic? I have. They had it in Orlando, and I don't know if it's still there, but it was called the Titanic Experience, and you could actually, they had it like parts of it, like if you went out to like, they would like have the replica of the ship, and you could go there and you could actually feel like the iceberg. They had like, and it was so cold and it was rooms.
Wow,
that's interesting.
And they had a lot of the souvenirs that they pulled up from the Titanic. And you go through it, and then at the end you get a card, and it's like it tells you whether you lived or died. Here's your card. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, but it was a lot of people went to it, and I want to say that it might still be in existence there. I'm not sure. I know that I think there's one in Vegas too. But it was a lot of fun. So I think that if they have a Titanic ship, a lot of people, there's a lot of lore. There's going to be, people will probably pay thousands of dollars to go, and it'll be like, you have some Leonardo DiCaprio look-alike, I'm sure that it would be, a big deal.
I would only go if I could wear my tux and smoke my cigar. Because you'd want the opulence of the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's another thing that I like about the whole costuming scene is like they're recreating of history. And I saw I have several friends who are part of the SCA and
that's a hobby.
Yeah, oh my gosh. It's one of those interesting hobbies where it's like people can be very nitpicky.
It's like a hobby /lifestyle.
Yeah, and it's like if you don't have the correct cloth, you're not wearing the appropriate clothing, and I'm just like, okay, you don't have to be that nitpicky.
Well, it's sort of like the 501st for Star Wars. They are super picky. Yeah. And I had a friend who wanted to be involved in it, and probably because it was too rigorous, he ended up dropping it. But he was fascinated with the whole thing. If you have to have the armor a certain way, or you're out.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think you have to make your own stuff too.
Yeah, if you don't pass inspection, they give you the force choke. Yeah,
I know a couple people who are part of the 501st too, and even like having meetings with them sometimes was just like they get so caught up in just like one word. I'm just like, semantics. We're fighting over semantics.
Back in the day, you'd be with a group of Star Trek people, and they'd be arguing over, what does warp 7 mean in original Trek? Does it mean the same as warp 7 in the Next Generation? And you'd get people down to near fisticuffs over warp speed. And really? Oh my God! Another hobby.
I think that's the part of being a nerd that you have to pick and choose how nerdy you want to go with stuff, because I love what I do, and I love hanging around with some of the people who I do hang out with. But yeah, there are definitely people out there who are like go above and beyond nerd and just, again, fighting over semantics.
Yeah, you do have to remember this is just a hobby, and some people do take it to the lifestyle.
Oh yeah,
and they will live it. And
I love watching TV. That's another hobby that I enjoy. But I'm not one of those nerds that will that write down episode 1, season whatever, and details.
Oh, I found an error in this show. Yeah, that was made in 1969. I'm going to write in and tell them about it. No, yeah. I don't have enough time to watch TV because I'm so busy hanging with web shows and the Rising Tide shows and all these other things.
That's pretty much it for me.
I don't have time.
This is my life.
Somebody asked me the other day. There's just like, "Are you caught up with Loki yet?" I'm like, I saw the first episode. I just don't have the time. If I'm not prepping a show, I'm on a show, or I'm at work, or sleeping. That's the part of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was funny because Garrett's like, well, you guys have to keep track of how many episodes you're on. I'm just like, how many episodes have I done? I think I've done like 35.
Dude, I've been doing Saturday morning cartoons with Mark for almost 3 years before we were part of HWWS.
Wow.
And I used to get on my phone in my car to keep the noise down. And and that's how I started. And then Mark's finally like, "You really need to invest in a laptop, honey." And I'm like, "Okay, okay. Tell me what to buy, and I'll buy it, Mark."
Yeah, if you're going to do it.
I had any idea that we would be on for as long as we've been on, and now we got our second show going, and it's been a great ride, A lot of fun.
Just it. And I said this in the other show that I hosted earlier. How many people, once they return to normal after the pandemic, how many of us are gonna, keep doing our show? Like, I have plans of keep going, because I'm addicted now to broadcasting.
We were pre-pandemic, so we'll keep going as long as Mark wants to go, I guess. And the funny thing is, Willow, you talk about getting a degree in broadcasting. I got a degree. I got an AA in broadcasting way back when I was 20-something years old. Never did anything with it. And now I'm finally like, and everybody's like, "Oh, you wasted your degree." And now I can tell them, "No, I didn't. I'm on I'm doing broadcasting now. Just, not the traditional way,
Well, that's just it. And I'm having a lot of fun doing this. Even like, as much as I keep, wanting to be in a studio and actually working on a radio station, sometimes and I'm seeing it now, even in my own city where radio stations are constantly changing, people are leaving, people are getting fired, just, and the longevity just doesn't seem like it's there for radio broadcasting anymore.
It's like that everywhere though, Willow. Everywhere you go, it's like that now. So it doesn't matter what you get into. You just got to do what you feel is right. But I understand, you got to look out for the long term too,
Yeah. And I mean, like, my husband's always like, oh, like he's kind of iffy on me, like making this my business and all that, because and getting sponsors and stuff like that, because it's like, oh, you have to do your own taxes and
but if it's something you want to do, it becomes not so much work, and then you can always end up hiring somebody to do your taxes for you,
Exactly.
But yeah, it depends. It's a lot to consider, but you gotta go with your passion, and I think life's good too. So
yeah. And I mean, like, I want to make my hobby a passion, or my passion and hobby into a job, but I know a lot of people are like, you're gonna hate it. Well, okay, if we made the car hobby to our work, I can see that becoming a thing that we'd hate. I mean, especially what happened yesterday.
Sorry about that. When you hear weird noises and your wife is out, and our cats have crossed the rainbow bridge, so I'm like, what the hell is that?
No.
It was nothing. It was
yeah, you definitely need to go check on that though. But yeah, it's storming here, so I could get knocked off anytime. Just so you know, it's well, in Florida, it's sunny in the morning, rainy in the afternoon in the summer.
If you guys need to, I can end the show here. That way, it's not a big deal for you.
I think we've talked about hobbies.
Yeah, I think we can wrap it up for sure.
Yeah. All right. So I am the Hang with Web show program director. Rose, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me at www.warpedinfluences.com for my books. You can see me on Saturdays at Saturday Morning Cartoons at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with Mark Lee and Jerome Connor. And every other week, mostly, on Classic Television SmackDown, which is like our new hot show. Everybody's loving that show. So please tune in and watch us, because we have a lot of fun.
And Carl, where can we find you on social media?
Wow. Well, I'm on Facebook mostly, and I have a small YouTube channel. Don't even check it out. It's I don't do any shows there. I just do, like, someone will say, I don't know how to do this, and I'll say, okay, I'll do a little video for you.
Oh, okay.
Put it up there. But mostly books are on lulu.com. If someone's interested in one of those, that's where you find me there. But on social media, it's mostly Facebook.
Okay. Excellent. And you broadcast every couple of weeks on Rising Tide Broadcasting Network.
Yeah, we do it. That cigar show at least once a month. Yeah.
We need to get you a show.
Well,
it would be great on a show.
I had a show I did for a while. It was in a private group, a private humor group, because I want to be a stand-up comedian someday. I'll try. Give it a try. And it was called Uncle Carl's Drunken Rant. But my co-host was like, my sweet wife, she was like, if you don't have enough to do the show, let's just don't do that. And I'm like, okay, that was easy enough. So I do have a public show on Facebook called Coffee with Carl. It's very guerrilla. It's just whenever I feel like it, I'll do a show, Okay. Like one time I did one on number stations, which is a shortwave phenomena, where you are tuning in one night and you hear these weird numbers, maybe English, maybe Russian, maybe Spanish, and we think there's spies out there somewhere. So if somebody wants to look for that, either on Facebook or I think you might have made it to YouTube.
Okay. Excellent. Well, you can find me all over social media. I'm the social media socialite, as well as, Hang with Web TV. And you can also now find me on the back of the cereal box. I'm going to be doing a show for them come August 1st. So yeah, I'm everywhere. So I'm the Hanging with Web program director. You can see my post. I will try very hard to make sure that all the scheduling stuff is done in the morning before I go on about my life. So I'm going to play this video and we'll say our goodbyes.
I'm GW Pomager.
I'm Dina Marie.
I'm Sage Ia.
I'm Thomas Carter Rochester.
Hey, I'm David Thompson.
Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Mia.
Hi, I'm Mark.
Hey there, this is Dave Adams.
Hi, I'm Rosemary Rose.
Jerome Conner here.
Hey guys, it's Josh Bauer.
It's Willow Schuyler.
I'm Cosplay Michael.
It's your boy Country.
I'm Ryan Permison.
And I'd like to ask you guys,
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please
Subscribe.
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 Please subscribe to HWWS
Web TV.
Great bunch of people.
And don't forget to smash the bell.
Ring that bell.
Smash that bell.
Hit that bell.
Hit the bell to be notified.
Hit the bell to get notified of new shows
And videos.
You're going to want to do that, so do that soon. So we can cross that 20,000 mark.
and get us to 100,000 subscribers.
To 1 million and 10 million and 100 million.
On HWWS.
Web TV.
You really like it. I guarantee it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for joining me. Brian and Nicole hopefully will be back next week. But you know what? I'm having fun doing these guest hosting gigs. You guys are awesome. Thank you very much for
Thank you, Willow.
joining me last minute.
Nice to meet you, Carl.
You too, Rose. Thank you.